Hello, we wish we could be welcoming you in on some better news, better circumstances, and talking about some wins. But instead, we're talking about what it'll take for the Philadelphia Union to get back to possibly winning games. Welcome to PHOI Union Podcast. We've got Tyler Zulli, JP Zapata, myself, Renee Washington, and our very special guest, the voice behind the Philadelphia Union radio play-by-play broadcaster who's been working with the team for many years, doing a fantastic job, Dave Leno.
Woo! Let's go, everybody. Happy Monday. No Monday blues here, Renee.
Let's go. Right.
Love it. Tyler in the back, everybody watching. Great to be along with you guys. Thank you for the invite.
Yes.
Excited to talk some Union soccer.
Yes.
I bring the energy. Renee knows this from our broadcasts over the years. I know you do as well.
Yeah.
JP. So fired up to be with you guys.
Yeah, we are so happy to have you here. Wish we could be talking under better circumstances, but we're here. You know, as we know in this industry, many times you just got to roll with it. And that's what we're going to try to find the positive and the silver linings. We'll get into some of the good. We'll talk about some of the things that could be a little bit better, areas that the Union can definitely make adjustments. Plus, we'll talk about what's going on internationally. We've got Euros, we've got Copa America, we've got other crazy stories around the MLS that are happening, unfolding. But Dave, let's get into you first before we even talk about the team, because I think it's helpful for people to know even more about the man behind the voice and who you are. And the fact that you've been with the Union for many years. Yeah. How did this start? How did this marriage between you and the Philadelphia Union start? Take us back to the beginning.
Yeah, so I appreciate the question. So it all began in 2016. Initially brought on to be in a kind of a dual role as the voice of Bethlehem Steel FC, which you guys know now called Union 2, the Union's second team. Mm-hmm. So I did all the second team games on TV play-by-play with the time with former Union player Matt Castle. Shout out Matt out there if you're watching. Yeah, Matt's a great guy. And so we did the games from Lehigh University at Goodman Stadium. So in addition to that, calling all their home matches, I did the Union pregame and halftime, and if we had postgame as well with Marissa Pilla for a number of years, and we had a blast. So it was a great role in the beginning because I got to see the guys coming up from the second team and trying to break in with the first team. You know, been training with both the second team and the first team, and then being there with our commentators, JP Delacamera, and we had Peter Pappas on color. We've had Tommy Smith, Danny Higginbottom, and some others that have gotten into the mix too, and then stepping in over time for JP doing play-by-play on television. And then when the Apple TV deal hit, just fast forwarding over time, Sebastian and I have actually been doing radio play-by-play since the 2020 MLS is Back tournament. I don't know if a lot of people realize that because there were no local TV broadcasts during the COVID year. Remember, they played in Disney. So we did the games from Subaru Park off the monitor, but doing a radio call. And then we launched a full-time radio network, traveling with the team for a second year. Great partnership with 97.5 The Fanatic. So really excited for the club and for the broadcast department. And I'm privileged to be one of the voices of the team.
How scary was that when they announced the Apple deal? Were you did you feel like your job was in flux, or was there any kind of scare for you?
I think all of us, all of us were. And it happened when we announced it. I remember being on the set post game with JP Delacamera, and we were all just like, I can't believe this is coming to an end on local TV. I thought that there would be some involvement as it related to me. I just didn't know, quite honestly, what that would be, whether it would be full-time radio play-by-play or doing some work digitally or what. But I think there was a mutual understanding between the two that I still wanted to continue being involved. I'm from the Philadelphia area, grew up in Northeast Philly in Bucks County, Pennsylvania. Played soccer for the Bustleton Bengals and Council Rock.
Look at that.
My first gigs doing play-by-play at Indiana University in Bloomington from the Big Ten was men's and women's soccer at Indiana, a school with very rich tradition in soccer. So when, just timing, right place, right time, when the Union were looking for a voice for their second team, but also trying to build that pregame, halftime, postgame show.
Right.
Stepped in and grateful to be a part of the journey.
Yeah, it is interesting because I know, and we were talking about it a little bit before the show even began, there are so many changes happening right now in soccer. And I see it with even the NWSL broadcast that I do. I see it in the MLS, where there's more access, there's more TV deals, there's more sponsorships, there's more that's growing the game. But on the other side of it, it's taking away from some of the bread and butter of what really helped in terms of the local sports coverage, local feeds in general, where you have people like yourself that grew up in the area or have such a fond connection that are a part of it. And I'm guilty of this myself because now I'm a part of the NWSL does the same thing. It's just all these broadcasters that are, remote possibly from afar that are covering a team, but don't have that same connection, the same roots, and even the same passion that maybe someone like yourself brings to a Union broadcast. So it's interesting. I feel like it's for the better to have, more opportunities. Apple TV, we're seeing more just networks in general that are investing in soccer. But then on the other side, it's like a double-edged sword, essentially.
I'm right there with you. I think one of the good things that Apple and MLS Season Pass did was providing the local radio call over the pictures on TV, so folks can listen to, if I do the games with Sebastian Letou or Shannon Williams on the call over the live, the Apple TV product, but get our local call. So it gives our Union flavor. They're doing that for home games. They were supposed to do that for road games this year, giving the fans a road radio option. That's not the case. So, we tell our folks, if you want the local call, tune in on the radio, and you can tune in on many ways, obviously on the air, online, on the app, etc. And I will say that, yes, I'm a guy that likes. That's a whole nother conversation that we had off the air with streaming, which we don't need to get into. But I will say this: I just want access for everybody to take in the Union product and watch it grow. So in addition to if you want the streaming service of Apple TV, it's there for you.
Exactly.
But if you want some of the local call and we'll document stuff. I'm at training several times a week. I'm watching the guys, talking to coaches, talking to players, talking to staff, and I want that some of that information that's pertinent to get out over the air so our fans know that, and also giving great coverage. And you both know, as a young broadcaster who has a number of years already under his belt across many different sports and networks, I take it very, very seriously. And I want to now that I'm doing radio for the Union, I want to paint that detailed picture. It's not just about these awesome, exhilarating goal calls. It's sometimes the nuances of play-by-play that people don't think about. Am I starting the game right? Am I getting this sub on time? Is my identification spot? Am I on top of the play? Am I a little bit behind? Can I be a little bit more descriptive there? So again, just really love doing radio's the purest form of broadcasting to me. I do them both actively. I think, as you both know, doing radio and network TV. So just love what I have with the Union here.
We love that.
I love what you do.
Right now in the chat, we got Jillian saying hi to Dave.
Yeah. Hey, Jillian, what's up?
Sean C says, I really appreciate the truth bombs from Dave and Shannon Williams threw out there as the match was winding down on Saturday. Really refreshing to hear. That was really awesome.
Yeah, I think you got to be honest with your fan base.
You have to be.
I think, and everybody knows. Look, I'm a Philadelphia Union employee. People know that. Just like Merrill Reese for the Eagles. It could be Tim Saunders for the Flyers, and Tom McGinnis for the Eagles. People know that I'm the voice of the Union, and they know I work with and for the team. Having said that, though, especially in this market, and I'm saying the same things that our coach will say in the post game that our players will, and we may get into some of those today. They're not happy with the situation they're in, but I think you need to just state the facts and say, yeah, the season's maybe not going the way that everybody out there watching and us want it to. Having said that, though, they're not far behind from the playoffs. I've seen teams in the past that have had up and down regular seasons. There's evidence. I'll give you one. Columbus won the whole thing last year. They finished 6th in the regular season. Wilfred Nancy, their manager, great job. He may not be in MLS after this year, but they made a run in the playoffs, and everybody saw it last year. Despite what their record was in the regular season, it wasn't indicative of what they could do later on. Sporting Kansas City is another example as well, where Peter Vermees, their longtime manager, a New Jersey native, was on the hot seat, but then they quickly rose up the standings a little bit. So maybe not perfect analogous cases to what the Union have been this year, but I want to caution fans, as disappointing and gut-wrenching as the results have been, I've said it the last couple of games, there's 15 games to go in the regular season. We haven't even played Leagues Cup yet.
Yeah.
There is still time, but the guys know they got to turn it around quicker.
Yeah, and that's the reality of it. And that's part of talking about any team, is being able to give the analysis, but also giving maybe a little bit more insight. And even as simple as maybe the analogies that you're making, or sharing how they can turn things around, where you see the changes being made. Because it's easy to look at the Union, for instance, and say, oh, they haven't been able to win at home. Oh, they've been on a winless streak, and get frustrated. But also, when you take a step back and peel back the layers, there is more to it than what we may even see on the surface level. And I think that's a big part of any team you're covering, winning, losing, tying, anywhere in between, is being able to help viewers understand, especially because you're around the team, you're around the coaches, you're around the players, you're learning things and seeing things that others aren't getting access to, that you can bring them in on that conversation. So I know, as Jillian's mentioning, top-notch work, absolutely. Dan is saying, thanks for being the voice of reason, Dave, as well as also saying, being honest with the listeners is something clearly not at the top of the list for Apple commentators. Everybody has a different style, I will say, but I also think it depends on your relationship with the team. Like you mentioned, you've been around this team since back in Bethlehem Steel days, and Lehigh. This is 9 years that you've been around the team, so you're going to say things differently. It's kind of like any relationship with family, with friends, with coworkers. Like the more you know each other, the closer you are, the more you can provide maybe what comes across as being the harsh reality, but it's the truth because you've been around long enough. Whereas somebody that's popping in for the games here and there, or maybe even just hasn't been around the team as long, is going to have a different lens. But this group does have some positives. There are some sparks. There are some things that you can take away from even their recent form are positive that you can look towards. And we are going to get into that too. We're not just here to beat down on the Union. And I think for all of us, it's good to be able to have a chance. We vented, we've talked through it. We're not happy, of course. We want to see them get results, but we know that they can do things if they just continue to do things the right way. And you know where you guys can do things the right way, guys? That's with our friends over at Rite Aid. Because Rite Aid provides with all the great services. They actually dropped off a huge box for us here at our PHLY Sports Studios of a bunch of different products that they have, and snacks and drinks and stuff. Rite Aid does a fantastic job of just giving whatever products you need. Household services, or cleaning products, anything over-the-counter medications, allergy medications, vaccinations, and also some great pharmacy services. I myself can say I went in Rite Aid looking to help a friend out. I was getting some medicine for someone, nothing serious for the record, and I wasn't sure where to go because the aisles are stocked with so many different types of medications, and I reached out to one of the pharmacists that was there, and he was able to help guide me in the right direction, walked me over, explained it to me, told me the different options. And so Rite Aid wants to make sure that you have trained professionals that are supporting you to help in whatever it is you're looking to buy, whether you're going in there for a pack of bubble gum or going in there to get a vaccine. And with Rite Aid, you can refill your prescriptions with their My Pharmacy account, schedule a vaccine, get personalized care recommendations like I did, and also be able to sign up for any prescription notifications. They've got other apps and opportunities through their app, I should say, that you can also take advantage of with their mobile app that they have, that they've gone digital. So today, transfer your prescriptions if you'd like to Rite Aid, and go to riteaid.com/transfer. Rite Aid has those caring pharmacists ready to answer any questions you have, support you, and help you stay healthy, most importantly. For you, your family, your littles, making sure that you can stay healthy to be out there to watch the Philadelphia Union play each and every week. Get your prescriptions along with anything at Rite Aid you may need, those medications, those different products, snacks, drinks, last-minute gift wrap, whatever it is you need at Rite Aid. Just ask your pharmacy team for details, and some restrictions, of course, may apply.
That's right, guys. And now that we're talking about Rite Aid, let's talk about something else, guys, because obviously the theme is summer. And sometimes you need something to do in the summer. So let me give you guys an idea, all right? With our Bet Parks Casino right here located in Bensalem, guys, you have something to do here this upcoming summer. And let me tell you some of the great stuff that is coming up this upcoming summer here at Bet Parks Casino. The Femmes of Rock play classic rock on violins, cool act, and they headline at Parks Casino this upcoming Friday night. We have Sebastian Bach, former lead singer of Skid Row, brings his solo tour to headline on this upcoming Saturday night. On August 23rd, Southern Rock, the Marshall Tucker Band. And on September 7th, we have the Australian Pink Floyd. That sounds pretty cool. Plus, from the TV show, I know my fiance's going to love this one. From the TV show Jersey Shore, the It's Happening podcast. I'm going to have to take a listen to that one. Live with Snooki and Joey. They're coming to Parks Casino on June 28th. Also, comedian Michael Blaustein on October 25th. All at Parks Casino, the #1 casino experience in the state of Pennsylvania. Parks Casino, this is how you win. They have it all. It's my casino of choice. Parks Casino has 3,200 state-of-the-art slots, 115 live table games, a beautiful poker room, a state-of-the-art sports book with a 150-foot video wall, plus the ultra-cool lounge. Guys, I've been there. It's actually really, really cool. You definitely want to check it out. If you get hungry, they have great dining options. They're amazing at Bet Parks Casino. Collection of award-winning restaurants, the Parks Grill Steakhouse, the Liberty Bell Gastropub, and Beer Garden. The delicious sushi hand roll at Bamboo Noodle House. Check out New York's best club comedians every other Thursday night and the best cover bands every weekend at the 360 Lounge. You can visit betparks.com. Parks Casino, this is how you win. You must be 21 or older. Gambling problem, please call 1-800-GAMBLER.
And for the record, guys, Jersey Shore is not how everybody acts in New Jersey. I just had this conversation
I thought this was coming
this
up.
past weekend. I feel like I put this disclaimer out there. This past weekend, I had an Uber driver that was like, "Oh, you're from Jersey, or is everybody?" I've heard a lot about Jersey through like the Jersey Shore. I'm like, what is that? And he's like, and then there's that other show, the Wives, and I'm like, the Real Housewives of New Jersey. Yes,
Yeah,
that is not everybody. For the record.
I'll tell you, I want to go to Rite Aid in Parks right now. Jeez, pick up some toothpaste and maybe go for some poker. Listen, I want to say this. Some of my friends may be watching. You'll like this one. Before Thanksgiving Eve, big tradition to go out. My friends and that I've grown up, and my dad and several dads are involved. It's what we play a two-hand touch. You can call it flag football game, but we don't play with flags. Like a Thanksgiving football game.
Yeah. I love that.
And the night before, the last couple of times we've gone to actually the Chicky and Pete's in Parks Casino, get a little private area and stuff. A lot of food, great fun, entertainment, just catching up with old friends. I mean, we've been doing that game since we were like 9, 10, 11
oh my gosh,
years
I love
old.
that, actually.
So it's our little turkey bowl game. But the night before,
Love that.
go out to Parks and,
See, Dave knows best.
There
Take his
you
advice.
go.
Been there, done that to both.
Turkey bowl.
Love your sponsors. Sorry,
I
that's the
love that.
broadcaster.
Yeah,
You know what
I
I'm
like
doing
it.
here, right?
Yeah, right. I like it. There you go.
We appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. So as we are getting the love in the chat, also Jose's saying great to virtually see you, Dave. And then George is also saying hello. How you doing? Hello, everybody. Let's get into what we also want to talk about, because I know Dan brought up Jim Curtin. Let's talk about this current status of the Philadelphia Union. They are in 11th place in the Eastern Conference. Obviously, they have been struggling at home, to say the least, which is not something that we're used to. We're used to Subaru Park being the fortress, being the spot where they can always get rights, win games, get results, defend, get clean sheets. They have not been able to put together, home or on the road, a good 90 minutes. I want to know off the bat, Dave, what is it that you feel like is the key that's causing this? Because there are multiple factors here that we'll try to iron out as best as we can. We got to iron out the wrinkles a little bit here. What are maybe the top things that you feel like causing the struggles of the Union lately?
Well, there's several layers. I'll try to get through them.
This is an onion.
This is definitely an onion.
My little onion
We
bag.
got some time
Here. Shout
here.
out Tommy Smith.
Yeah, shout out to Tommy.
Yeah, and thanks to Jose. Good to see you and everybody tuning in. You guys are doing, by the way, and I said this to them and I'll say it publicly. Everybody here, Renee, JP, congratulations on the adventure you have here, not just
so
with the
much.
Union, but the other Philly sports. I think, myself, you both know, do a lot of college basketball in the area, amongst other sports, football in the past and others. Like, I think it's just the more that you get out there, just the coverage, I think, helps.
Oh, yeah.
And the different messaging you have for your stakeholders, for your fans.
Bingo.
It's wonderful. So, with the Union, what we're seeing at home this year is definitely an anomaly. Things that we haven't seen, since really like before the 2020 season. I will say fans need to understand the way that the Union played against Miami several games ago. Now, they were missing Messi, Suarez, among others. The way that we played the game that I called in Cincinnati, where we came back not once, not twice, 3 times, ended up Lucho Acosta scores 100th minute goal. Call it what it is. I said on the air, tip of the cap to him. It was poor defending at the end of the game. And Lucho, an MVP last year, buries us at the end. And this last game against Charlotte, a team that coming in, I know, was like 4th worst in possession, team that doesn't like to have the ball, very organized offensively under their new manager, Dean Smith, who's doing a great job for a team that's still several years into their MLS existence. On my drive down to the game, I really thought that was the opportunity for the Union to turn around their season at home. And I think if Baribo, who has a great chance, tackles the goalkeeper, Colina, who now has 9 shutouts, leads MLS. Baribo tackles him on that dispossession, could bang it in with his left. Wasn't a ton of pace on the ball. This is in the 4th minute of the game from the top of the box. If he slots that in before the center back Milan is there, it kind of just like jogged because there wasn't a lot of steam on the ball by Baribo. I think we get that first goal. Some may say, watching me now, it's easy to say if they score first, they win the game. I think that just would have relaxed everybody, not just the fans, everybody in the stadium. And I just get that feeling at home, just watching from the booth, that when the other team scores first, it's like, oh, here we go again. The Union, though, please keep in mind, and it happened early on this year against Nashville on a Gazdag goal, Bedoya late in games too, in Austin in a 2-2 final. I will say that we have come back in games too. It hasn't happened as of late. So I will caution by saying, as disappointing as the stretch has been, and let's call it what it is, it has been, that the team has been in games. They're not getting blown out. Also keep in mind, and Jim Curtin, our coach, has said this, and it's a fact, we're missing like 4 to 5 starters, including, in my opinion, the best goalkeeper in the league, and Andre Blake. And it's not because I've called his games for a number of years with the Union. I really think he is or one of the top keepers in MLS. He's been hurt. There's not been a lot of continuity out of the back as well.
Bingo.
A more pointed answer to your question is, I think in the grand scheme, there's been individual mistakes that have magnified at the most poor times, which has caused us in games that we should have had draws, we lost. On games that maybe we should have won, we just picked up a point. We just picked up a draw. And I just think, I hate to use cliches on the air, but the ball is just not rolling the right way for the Union this year. There is still time. Guys are out. You mentioned guys on international duty. Now our all-time leading scorer across all competitions, Daniel Gazdag, is with Hungary. Maybe if Hungary's out, he'll be back sooner rather than later. Jose Martinez, as you guys both know, with Venezuela, very good at the number 6 position. I will say Leon Flock is doing an exceptional job, which is really not talked about. I know by some of our local beat guys, they're on it, but I think it's just lost in kind of the results this year. What Leon did, battling 2 surgeries in the span of 3 months, talked to him a lot at training. I'm really happy for him that he's back into the mix. But again, it's at times anemic in the attack. Maybe that final third, that final pass, as you well know in your playing days, is not as crisp as we've seen in the Eastern Conference final years in 21 and 22 and the run to MLS Cup and even into last year. So I know I went a lot of different areas. I can get a little bit more specific with you, but there's a lot going on. Guys missing, guys have been hurt, but the team will tell you they need to figure it out, and hopefully it will start with the road matchup against Montreal over the weekend. Well,
that's the thing, Dave. Like the struggles right now is complex. It's not just one thing. It's multiple different things that's going on with the team right now. But I think one thing you pointed out, it's the important part, why people should have some optimism, is these guys haven't given up on Jim Curtin. And like Renee will tell you, and I bring him up on the Anthony Gargano show all the time. I love Jim. Jim, he's a fantastic, he's a fantastic coach, even better human being. But that's the important part. They haven't given up on Jim Curtin. So, I mean, like for you though, I mean, obviously, like, the attack was cold at one moment. It seems like with Ua and Baribo, we may have something up there. But the defense seems to be the constant thing that, especially as of late, that they've been struggling. I just looked at it right now. The goal differential is at that 0. 31 goals they have allowed so far. We're not even at July yet. It's unprecedented. Is it just Andre Blake out, or are you seeing some regressions from Glazes and Elliott? What's your take on the defense right now?
Look, the guys will tell you. There's no doubt there's been some individual errors by some that you've mentioned in the back line. And I will say this, and there's the lack of continuity back there. Damian Lowe's been out. Lowe got a run of games where Elliott wasn't playing. That Elliott's in. Glesis has had some tough 1v1 situations. He would tell you that. He told the reporters that in the post game too. But it's not just one or two of those guys, and it's also a product. And Jim said this in one of his post games. It's a product too of the guys around him. So it's not just Glesis or Elliott or Wagner getting beat 1v1, but when you take a look at the film that I do and others, you need to say, well, where did the play begin? Where was the first error? Yes, on the back end, it's easy to say that defender lost him, and it led to a goal by Leo Alfonso in the Miami game late. Lucho Acosta, there was a ton of ball watching at the end. I think you're looking at the film this year, talking to the guys, there's been, for me, way too many goals from outside the box, which we have not seen in a number of years with the Union. So that, to me, and I think to a lot of our staff and our fans, has been surprising, number one. Number two, I think at times, I think the Union have been doing a much better job as of late, but different maybe the early on in the season. I think the team was a little bit stretched. What I mean is, like, that line from the midfield to the back at time was too far apart, whatever you want to call the distance. Now I think they're getting tighter.
15 feet, Jim used to always say, between each line?
15
and
yards.
There were gaps.
I mean, exactly. So too much space conceded, and teams have exploited that space. Look, Charlotte, with their adjustment coming into the second half, I thought the Union were the better team, by the way, in the first half the other night.
They were.
Charlotte then, took more risks with their outside backs, Urinen and Nathan Byrne on the left and right, respectively. They got advanced, and I said it on one of my goal calls. The Union can ill afford to have Jere Urinen banging across, and he got that space on the left, and he did, and against a guy in their number 9 that they've been searching for, an attacking player in Patrick Agyemang, coming from the draft of Rhode Island. He was goalless in 7. And he just got on the better end of a header and beat Rick. I will say this, lastly, about the goalkeeping. Yes, the Union 100% are sorely missing Andre Blake. And Blake, by the way, when he was playing early on the year, this is my opinion, by the way, not coming from him, I don't think that he was as healthy as he was, evident by the knee surgery.
Yeah.
I've caught up with Andre, several months ago before he had the knee surgery. Seemed like he was doing all right, giving it his all. But you remember the adductor, the groin injury, now the knee.
There's a lot of nagging
going on. So look, let's just call what it is. It stinks. But Oliver Zembla, coming from Louisville City in the USL, where he led USL in shutouts with 13, won a College Cup with Marshall. It was pretty funny doing the Cincinnati game. Zembla, just one anecdote, Zembla and Roman Celentano, the young goalkeeper of Cincy, both battled each other in College Cup in 2020 for Marshall and my Indiana Hoosiers, and Indiana lost. Zembla won. So
that's why we have Dave Leno on. That's a good story.
I was actually chatting about that with Oliver, and they won in overtime in college that year. And I just want to give a shout out to Andrew Rick. Despite the 2-0 loss to Charlotte, Rick becomes the youngest goalkeeper to ever start for the Union, 12th youngest to earn his debut at 18 years young. And I thought Andrew made some brilliant saves in the game late. Yes, 2 did go in. It wasn't necessarily just his fault that the 2 went by, but I've seen both him, Zembla, and others that we kind of hinted at. They're working really, really hard at training. And you might be saying, oh, yeah, they're working hard, but the results aren't to show for it. They're not quitting, to your point. They're still going after it. It all stems from Jim and the coaching staff at the top. And these players believe they're going to turn it around. It's just, when are you going to get that game to kind of be that trendsetter to kind of turn this season upside down?
But and I think it's real quick. It's just so hard for young goalkeepers. You put in those type of spots too when you're talking about Zembla and Rick.
Well, and I'm glad you say that, because I feel like in these situations that we've seen for Andrew Rick and for Oliver Zembla, I thought they've been playing well in that, honestly. I thought they stayed, and you look at the last 10, 20 minutes of that game against Charlotte, Andrew Rick made some phenomenal saves. He settled in. You could see, like, it as the game progressed, he was feeling more comfortable. And the same thing happened for Oliver Zembla. The problem is they're getting some really point-blank shots that are difficult for anybody to save. Obviously, there are games you could look at and point to, more for Zembla since he's played more, of goals he's given up that you could say, oh, I bet Andre Blake would have saved that. We don't know that, to be honest, especially given the amount of shots that they've seen and the amount of pressure that they've been under, and they're young. And you have, coming from the USL, 18 years old, for both of them to be so young, thrown into a role where Zembla thought he was just going to be backup for a little while, and now comes right in and has to start every game, and is seeing a lot of shots, has to organize, has to make sure he's matching everybody up. That's something a veteran keeper can do that they need time to learn.
These are great great guys you're mentioning. And Oliver, I talked to at training, same with Andrew Rick. And you're spot on, Renee and JP. Like, they were thrust into a situation unfair to them that they did not see coming. I think Oliver Zemel, if you asked him when he signed with the union, he was thinking maybe around this time when Copa America would occur, that Andre would be with Jamaica. So I'm really happy for him that he's getting time in MLS. And I think objectively, I'm saying this, I think he's strengthened his play over time.
Yeah.
Yes, were there some tough moments getting chipped from midfield in the Cincinnati game? Like I said, call it like it is. Absolutely, they were tough to watch, and he would tell you that. But that happens with all goalkeepers, including Kalina of Charlotte, who leads MLS with 9 shutouts. There's great moments, and then when you allow a goal that you probably stop, 19 times out of 20. Unfortunately, everybody's, calling for you to be benched.
And it could have been even in Charlotte. You talk about that play Tai Baribo made. That's a play that goalies should not make and give up a goal off of, and nearly almost conceded in the early minutes, which definitely would have changed the game. It's just with the MLS, there's so much talent, and there's across every team. It's never easy for any goalkeeper, any back line. I think my concern, and you actually touched on this, Dave, is defensively. I watch a lot of the game and don't just look at the ball. I'm looking around the pitch, and I more intentionally have been doing that as of late because I've been feeling myself noticing it, and I want to make sure to see it before I say it. But for the defensive unit, as we talk about that stretch, his last 13 games that the Union have played in MLS play, to have 7 losses, 5 ties. They of course beat New England. They've scored 13 goals. They've given up 24 goals in that stretch. A number of games have been multi-goal games. They're giving up 2-3 goals in an outing. So I was trying to figure out, okay, what is happening here? Obviously, we can say without the leadership of Andre Blake, maybe they don't have that vocal presence, that organization. The consistency is definitely not there with the injuries. Agreed. But I also feel like the body language, when you look at the way that they're defending as a team, and it's not just the back four, I feel like Jakob Glesnes does feel like something's off, but it's not just him. It's all the way through. There are guys closing down an attacker standing straight up. You do not defend standing straight up. There are guys that are getting beat, and watch what they do after the player dribbles around them. Sometimes they're literally stopping, turning, and kind of jogging back. The first goal against Charlotte, beautiful finish by Agimang for sure. But what leads to that is that 3-man combination on the left side. Nate Harrell's on an island, and I watched their players are making runs, and nobody's going with them. They're watching. It's a lot of ball watching. It's a lot of playing flat-footed, and then almost now it feels like they're giving up at times. And I think that is because of you have 13 matches, you've only won 1 game, and there's a lot of youth on this team. And so I would love to figure out how they can I think it's the small wins, encouraging each other, picking each other back up, whatever it takes, of like win those individual battles. Focus on just that. Forget the results. That'll come. If you win these individual battles and you are going to have the pride of you're not getting past me. And if you do, I'm busting my butt back. I'm not just going to stick a leg out and dive in and watch you take a touch around. But the goals this past week, honestly, when I watched them back a few times, I'm like, it's different players around the pitch kind of giving up, unfortunately. That's never been the MO of the Union.
Could it be confidence? Because it does feel like that.
It feels a little deflating. But you know what's weird? For anybody, if you watch, just again, pay attention to these things. Offensively, I don't see that as much. I see like Nate and Kai are flying up the flanks. Sure. Even in Bizo, the mids, Quinn's taking great shots. Jack's taking great shots. I love the spark that Tai Baribo added and Jesus Bueno, and so happy to see them get the goals, get their first goals, get their starts, and continue to play so well. Offensively, the fire and the passion is there. It just feels like defensively, and I really went, and I was not 1 or 2 people. I saw this through everybody. I actually think Leon Flock was the only one I consistently did not see shutting off in that same way.
Leon's been great putting out a ton of fires. And to your point, look, the film doesn't lie. And I know you played cover soccer multiple levels. And I will say that at times there's been too much ball watching. It happened in the Lucho Acosta goal in the 100th minute. It happened maybe the other night.
4 or 5 defenders that just kind of stuck out a leg. You're not.
I was with Shannon Williams on the call up there at TQL Stadium. I couldn't believe it because everything that's happening, and you mentioned some of the defensive woes for the Union. Again, it's stuff that we're just not accustomed to witnessing over the last 4 or 5 years. And that's why I told you when I started the show today that I feel like whether it's that early goal scoring first, because to your point about allowing all those multi-goal games, yeah, it's happened again. That hasn't happened a lot. So, I would say to people like, that's where like we need to be on the front foot scoring more. Jim will tell you, we're not a team that's built, and everybody knows the depth that we have. We're not a team to build to come back from behind as much as we have this year, which credit to the team for the resilience in games. And I will say defensively, 100% to both of your comments, things need to be strengthened. And I think teams, as you both know in this league, and we're going to play more of a rigorous schedule down the stretch. With the Red Bulls coming up, we're playing really well under a new manager. We haven't played, Columbus yet, and several others upcoming. And I will tell you that I think they're going to work things out defensively. They try to harp on it training all the time, but we need to see it translate from training, the messaging in film, to game action. And so far it's been there at times, and maybe in the worst instances, it evaporates.
And again, the little things for the Union right now, I think would make such a big difference. Like, I want to see guys consistently, you're closing out a player, you're getting low, you're getting yourself wide, you're moving your feet, like force them to have to dribble. And now you're having a help defender step in for a double, or force them out of bounds, and, you make a good defensive play. It's more of the transition play. It's the high pressing when you're getting forward. But as the ball gets closer to the Union's net, unfortunately, it feels like they're regressing and playing less intense. And it's not the entire 90 minutes, but I feel like in bulk moments, I'm seeing them play a little bit more lax defensively. And now it's made the games become a shootout. It's a 4-3 game. It's 2-0, and you're crawling back and tying it up, and then it's 3-2. It's become a shootout. And offensively, they're actually producing. But the little things defensively that have always been the key for them, you think about, Ali Bedoya and Kai and, honestly, Jack and Jacob when they were really flying, and Jose, different guys, what they've always brought to this team has been that grit, that fight, that energy, that's every tackle, every 50-50 ball, they're going to compete for. So I'm not sure how that confidence gets back because, of course, as we know, you're going to be missing more guys. You're going to be asking more players to step in, the CJ Onlys and David Vasquez and different guys and young players. And you're going to ask more of the youngsters, and you have to find a way to show them, even Quinn, Jack, Nate, they're still very young themselves. I know we forget about it, but I feel like right now we're just getting the identity, the culture is not the same as what it's usually been, where they're not bringing that Union level, blue collar level play. Instead, it's at times, again, the confidence, or maybe even just kind of going through the motion. Maybe it's like, you got it. Oh, you got it, Dave. You got it, JP. Meanwhile, no one is stopping ball.
Nobody's got it.
No one's got it, unfortunately. And I've seen that on teams, and it's contagious. It just takes one or two players to kind of put their foot down, or even it could be Jim. And I'm not in every conversation, obviously, whether it's calling people out, having conversations, showing, maybe they don't realize they're doing it. That could be it too. I know they watch film and everything, but maybe they're not really seeing it the way that we are. Yeah. I don't know.
I will say that they started out the game really, really well.
They did.
The first 15, 20, 25 minutes against Charlotte. I documented that over the air. And again, like I said earlier, I thought they were the stronger team in the first half. Were there lapses to your comments there? 100% in the second half of the game. And I want to give credit also to the teams around MLS. They're finding those pockets of space where you said there's been, some defensive struggles for the Union, which there have been, absolutely, where Lucho Acosta with our rest defense, has been at times maybe not what we've seen before. So, when we have the ball in possession all the way up, and, our defenders are playing a high line moving forward, I'm watching some of these other, guys that don't help out maybe with the dirty running defensively for the opposition, but they're getting ready to spring on a counterattack right away and getting a 1v1 situation and beat our guys. So I think they're constantly, Renee, good to work on it. It has been tough for everybody out there. I saw one of the comments, goalkeeping coach Phil Wedden has done a remarkable job with not just Andre, but with Oliver, Andy, and some of the younger guys out there. I want to tell everybody out there, yes, this run is tough to watch. I do think, and I'm not just saying this because I call the Union games, I do think there's still time to turn this thing around. They're 1 point out of a playoff spot. You know, your
Mhm.
top 9 teams make it, 8, 9 play in a playing game. They're a couple more points out of that from the 7th spot right now. So just looking at the numbers, there's still ample time. And I will say, you know, the next game is against Montreal, who, you know, we played to a 2-2 draw. They scored on a set piece. That's another one that kind of went by
Yeah.
the wayside. Should have won that game. We fell
Yep.
asleep on a restart, and Samuel Piette, one of their leaders, you know, bangs it in off of a rebound. So I hope that begins against Montreal. And then you're going to have games against Chicago, who recently, I believe, was unbeaten in 4 and 5. And then you have the New York Red Bulls. I mentioned how much stronger they are under a new manager this year, still with a lot of similar pieces.
And that restart, I hate to cut
go
you
ahead,
off.
go ahead. No, go
We
ahead.
talked about that restart. That's another lapse where Ua was the only one. There were about 4 guys that crashed in that. Zemla was caught out because they hit the post off the first one.
You're
Zemla
right.
was caught out of position. He's down. Ua was the only one tracking back, and there were about 4 attackers that were crashing. That it's just been small lapses here and there, which is fixable, and that's very fixable.
That's what I said. I think it's not necessarily, you know, a team thing that's going on right now. I think, like I said, there's individual mistakes that have been magnified and unfortunately have happened at some of the worst times and have cost this team points. Nobody likes the run that the Union have had at home. But I do think, and I want to caution everybody that, you know, this is how the Union aren't the only team in MLS history that have gotten off to really tough starts and have turned their seasons around. You know, if we're sitting here in August, September, closing in on decision day and towards the end of October against Cincinnati, it might be a different conversation than what we're having. But we're just past the midway point. So there's still time to rework this. And, you know, with guys away, guys injured, including the goalkeeper, and he's not the only one. You know, I credit some of the younger guys stepping up, thrust into situations they didn't see forthcoming. And the coaches, by the way, didn't see them going in those positions. So me being at training, you know, throughout the week and obviously traveling with the team and calling the games, just from my vantage point, guys, they're together. They're ready to turn this around.
I love that.
And I'm not in the locker room, obviously, because I'm on the press level doing the games. But these conversations, you know, and we all know they're happening with the guys that they got to write this. And it's not just coming from Jim or the assistants or from sporting director Ernst Tanner. Everybody in that building, from ownership all the way down, including you out there, the fans, they know they gotta play much better. And I really believe with the roster composition that the Union have, say what you want about running the team back, lack of depth, it's all out there for everybody to see. I just think with the players that we have, we are better. We are much better than what the results have indicated.
Absolutely. Jose's actually a good question here. He does ask, what do you attribute the road success this year? It's ironic. They're playing much better at home, something we don't usually see. They're playing better on the road than they are at home. What do you attribute to that?
That's a great question, Jose. And I love the work that Jose does as well. I would say, number one, I think with the game plan about maybe like sitting back a little bit, I find them more organized. Defensively at times, not always, because I think they're organized at home junctures as well in the game. So I will say that I thought they looked really, really good in the Cincinnati game in particular. You know, sitting back, and we played Cincinnati at their place with squad rotation because of 3 games in 8 days, which this stretch was another 3 and 8. So I would say that. I would say defensively, they've looked good. And I think they've gotten, whether it's like, a penalty, a late equalizer, those big moments have happened on the road, to Jose's question. They have not occurred at home. We've seen the penalty calls, despite the one for Yuya Kubo got fouled in Cincinnati, led to a PK for Acosta. We've seen, unfortunately, us on the wrong end of those calls at home. So I would say, not just, I would say the defensive organization for the road. I would say getting some key moments at the end of games, which has helped. And the teams needed to come from behind a lot. If you just analyze the road results, we've gotten, a late goal I mentioned in Nashville, the 90th minute, Bedoya scoring one in the 95th minute as well. You can go down the line. It's occurred. The New England game, for example, New England's, their start was tumultuous under their new manager. There was a lot of experience in the league in Caleb Porter, 2-time MLS Cup winner. They get a red card on Spalding, 14 minutes in for a denial of a goal scoring opportunity for UA. We win that game 3-0. Those kind of breaks, to Jose's question, are happening on the road. It's not just red cards, but we're not seeing that at home. And I would say more of a complete 90-minute performance. I know the Cincinnati is not a great example in that 4-3 loss, but I would say more complete games maybe on the road this year than at home. I don't think it's anything about pressure in front of the fans or anything like that. I think it's just the product of play. Yeah, and it's a matchup thing, who they're playing against.
Yeah.
What's the scout, technically how you're going to play, tactically with the formation, and just the road results have been much better. Hopefully that answers Jose's question.
I agree with that.
No, it's a great question, and it's hopefully things will shift and they'll be able to get that home success back and get back to how we normally see them play consistently. These are all fixable things, and you want to make sure that you take care of business at home. And you know where you can take care of business at home, guys? That's financially with our friends over at TrueMark Financial Credit Union. TrueMark Financial Credit Union provides you with better rates, lower fees, and a better return on savings, so that when you are partnering and working with TrueMark Financial, you're becoming a part owner, which means that you're getting all the profits coming back to you, not going to shareholders. You also don't have to worry about some of the same issues that you may have with local banks and things of wondering where your money is or the different rates that you're dealing with, because you can now plan for your future with TrueMark Financial. They've got local roots as well, with their headquarters right in Fort Washington, and then 24 branches throughout Philly. So working in our backyard, providing opportunities for all people around Philadelphia to have a chance to partner and work with TrueMark Financial Credit Union to make sure that you can plan for your future, whether it's that vacation, that house that you're buying, maybe for your kids or your grandkids. TrueMark Financial Credit Union gives you all the things you need, including digital tools, of course. They got the digital tools and technology to make things easier right at your fingertips, so you can also get a nice picture of your finances and make sure to plan easier with having everything on your phone, on the app, on TrueMark Financial Credit Union. So make sure you can take advantage of the opportunity to head over to TrueMark.com/PHLY to learn more or to find a branch near you. I always pass the branch on Broad Street on my way to work. When I go that route, that is, because TrueMark is all over the place throughout Philly, sprinkled around and providing you with great chances to take care of your finances. So that's TrueMark.com/PHLY, federally insured by the NCUA.
Love it. All right, guys. Well, look, I know we're all a little frustrated right now with the Union. All right, it's not always fun watching the U, but one thing you can do to sit back and chill, you guys can pick a nice cold Coors Light when you're watching the Union. Okay, I actually did the same thing this past Saturday. It was the bridal shower after party at Casa de Zapata, right? So, we wanted to take something a little lighter. So we went with Coors Light. And of course, we made sure that those Rocky Mountains were blue, because when they're blue, they're cold, and we chill with our friends over at Coors Light, guys. And guys, listen, we love Coors Light because it's nice, light, and refreshing. But when the mountains turn blue and is as cold as the Rockies, Coors Light is cold lagered and cold filtered and cold packaged for a smoother finish. When you embrace a chill mindset, guys, it's a good time to choose chill and crack open that Coors Light, all right? This is the best part about Coors Light right now. Through Instacart, we don't have to run to the beer store anymore. It can come delivered to us. That's the best part about it. If you get the beer right before the game, get it delivered. Nothing better than that. All you got to do is head on over to CoorsLight.com/PHLY soccer. Again, that's CoorsLight.com/PHLY soccer. I'll have a couple for the Montreal match this upcoming weekend. I'm hoping you guys will as well. Celebrate responsibly. Coors Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado. Thank you, Coors Light.
All right. And again, we've got Dave Leno on with us, play-by-play broadcaster for the Philadelphia Union, as we're weighing in on what's going on with the team right now, current state and form that we're seeing them in. There are positives, though, guys. And as we are already getting ready to wrap up, because this hour just flies by when you're having fun, there are positives that we have seen, especially recently from the Philadelphia Union. One is the youth. I know people talk a lot about running it back, and we have talked about it a lot on this show as well. But in reality, there's a lot of youth that's been brought into this team that's getting meaningful minutes, that's also progressing as the season goes on. We talked about Oliver Zemla and Andrew Rick, but even on the field and other positions, we're seeing whether it's the emergence of Quinn Sullivan or how Jack is even becoming more offensive-minded, or Nate's ability to get up into the attack and really show some great composure in his final runs and services to join into the offense. And then also you have, a lot of young players, but then some guys that we don't see as many minutes from. Tai Baribo, one of them. And we've talked a lot about him being someone, Jesus Bueno another, that we feel like might have something in the tank to add. And we did get a chance to finally see them this past week They get to start both games, obviously get the goals in that 4-3 insane game. That was actually a good game.
It was a lot of fun
when you
to
really
call.
think about it, that 4-3 loss, and I would say the first half against Charlotte, the Union actually still looked good. It's not the result you want, but it's 2 hard-fought games for a game and a half, and I would even say maybe the last few minutes of that stoppage goal by Acosta, they, were a little flat. But you could see the spark there. You could see with with having players away, knowing players are going to be away, this was a chance for guys to get the nod, get the start, and step up. And I think that's something that should be a positive right now to help them kind of right the ship. That you have guys that can go out there, Marcus Anderson, Chris Donovan, Jeremy Raffanello, go out there and just play and get better each day.
So Raffanello that you hit on, I thought he did a wonderful job in the Miami game against Sergio Busquets. I think on the broadcast for that game, I don't think I called Busquets' name for the first 10, 15 minutes. I know that quickly changes, the quality of the player that Busquets is, but happy for Rafa that a guy who's really working hard in training, great story in himself, has played with multiple clubs from the Red Bull system, from Indy 11, a year at Penn State under Jeff Cook and others. So happy for Raffanello. Donovan gives you that burst of speed to kind of change the game. And Chris has been close to scoring. We saw it at the end against Querétaro and Leagues Cup. It's one of my favorite calls from last year. So maybe that final product from Chris and just trying to score. By the way, he's doing a wonderful job scoring with Union 2. Yeah. Obviously, he'll tell you he just wants to score with the first team. He's getting closer when called upon. Tai Baribo, you mentioned getting the brace in Cincy. Ecstatic for Tai that he's getting time. Look, with Carranza, the deal's not done yet, but it's obviously widely reported that he's going to go to the Netherlands, to Feyenoord. It's now Baribo time, and Tai's going to get his chances. And Tai, I think, has put together 2 great shifts, not just in the Cincy game. I thought even at the end of the game where the Union were down, I saw a lot of the running and the defensive running, and I think that says a lot, as both of you know, when a striker is doing all that running, especially when the team is down. Ty's given you that, and I think he does have it in him to finish off plays, and now he's going to get that time. I said it during one of our chalk talks to our fans at Union Yards before the game. I thought he would score. He was very close, as I mentioned, in the 4th minute. Some other sequences as well among Quinn Sullivan on a one-time hit, Nate Harriel. You mentioned some of the young guys, and unfortunately for the Union, about missing guys with that theme. Likely Nate Harriel and Jack McGlynn will be called to the Olympic team, so we'll miss them next month. I've mentioned on the air, I know Jim has in press conferences and to the media, that Quinn Sullivan should be in the mix too. Shout out to CJ Olney getting in for his first MLS appearance. Did well with the U.S. under-19s. Talked to him at training recently. Capped against Uruguay. Was also in Argentina with the under-19s. David Vasquez as well, as you mentioned, another player that's going to come up the pipeline. Jim said it in the post game that Union may lead the league in homegrown minutes, but everybody doesn't want to talk about that because of the results, and they are what they are. And everybody knows the backbone of this team is the academy. So the question is, can you mold the younger talents with the experienced ones, like an Ali Bedoya, hopefully back sooner than later from a quad injury, Blake, among others, and against guys that have been in MLS maybe 2-3 years? Can you mesh them together?
Right.
And the Union have proven that they can. It just, have they gotten that full 90-minute product this year? And it hasn't happened as much as we all expected it to.
Yeah. Well, Baribo, it's interesting because if he keeps this up the way he's been playing the last 2 matches, we know how the city works. He's worked his butt off. He's going to find a lot of fans very quickly if he continues working at that rate.
I agree. And look, he's given it at training. Unfortunately for Tai, who's capped with Israel, decisions have gone against him, but he knows the situation. I know he's talked with manager, Jim Curtin, and his name was going to be called upon, whether it was the Carranza, transfer, or somebody going down, Uwa, Sullivan, the different formations up top. Tai is going to get his chances. I think fans are saying like, oh, how come Tai didn't play more before? And now you say, well, he had 2 really good games, and the coaching staff sees every day what's going on. And as you both know, sometimes, 1 or 2 guys are above you on the depth chart, and it takes, unfortunately, a sale or an injury to happen. But I've talked with Tai personally, again, really happy for him. He's trying to give it his all with this opportunity. And I think as the summer months go by, you're going to be seeing more of Tai Baribo. And like I said, he was very close of scoring in back-to-back games. And whether he's a starter or coming off the bench against Montreal, I do think he will play an integral part in the matchup over the weekend.
Yeah, I agree. And I just like the fact that we are seeing for Jim, this is something I give him credit for doing, tweaking things. You know, you roll out a lineup with all 5 defenders on the pitch at once. You mix up the formations. You try guys in different spots. These are the things that, especially when you're not getting the results, I don't mind you trying something different. You see, as you mentioned, every day how you guys are training, how you're talking through tactics, how you're watching film. So you know what makes sense. I'm not saying like throw it all out there and just like make some mess up. No, try minor moves that do make sense, bigger picture. And I think Ty's a great example of somebody who has been working his butt off. Jim has talked a lot about how well he's been doing in training and how he's been progressing. And now to finally see him get those minutes on the field, you could see how it's translated. He's buzzing around, I like that he's making good runs. He's active. He wants the ball. And he just brings some energy and life to the attack. And you could see where he's coming in, someone fresh that hasn't gotten the minutes and is making the most of them now. And that's all you could ask for.
And it hasn't played a ton with Mikel Ua, by the way. I will say this.
Right.
I know, you could say what you want about the shift against Charlotte, but he did before that, 2 goals and an assist in I think a span of 3 games. And I want to give credit to Mikel. He's playing really, really well as of late. Of course, strikers are judged, as you guys know, and goals more paramount than assists, but goal contributions. So there aren't the numbers of like a Lucho Acosta, reigning MVP. But I just want to say, like, it does, as you both know, and I think many watching, it does take time for a partnership to happen. And mainly it was, as we all know, Carranza and Ua. So if it's going to be Baribo and Ua moving forward up top in a 4-4-2 diamond, let's see how those two play off of one another, 2 totally different players. And hopefully when Gazdag comes back, or if it's Raffanello holding the 10 or Sullivan slots in there or somebody else, hopefully everybody, can mesh together against the opposition. And I want to say that not playing a little Miss Cleo here, but fans may say, oh, yeah, he's probably saying it on the air every game without a turnaround. But I think now you're playing a team a little bit further down in the table in Montreal. Then you're going out to Chicago. So 2 upcoming road games. And we both mentioned the teams look better on the road versus at home, which again has been starting to a lot of us. But if you can get some results in these 2 games, you come home against, and you guys know what a derby is between the Union and the New York Red Bulls. Fire up the fan base again at home. So I think if the Union can take care of some business on the road, turn some things at home against Red Bulls, we'd be having a different tenor of a conversation right now.
Yeah. Well, one more for me I have to ask. So obviously, listen, only because you're here now, we haven't had the official word about Julian Carranza. But when all said and done, what is the legacy he leaves behind in Philadelphia? Because personally, never seen more prolific goal scorer than Julian Carranza in the Union uniform.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's very well said. I think he's going to go down as one of the better strikers that the Union have had in its history. And it's not a long history. Remember, Carranza first came on loan. From Inter Miami. Then the contract was
great business by Ernst, by the way.
Absolutely. Shout out to Ernst and Matt and the technical staff at the time when Ernst was there. Leading things obviously still is, and now Matt as number 2 coming into the mix too. And by the way, I want to say this. I know we're coming up at the top of the hour. Those guys are trying to improve the team. I want people to understand that this team is not just saying, okay, I'm sitting pat. Things that we're not talking about right now that I don't have privy to. They are discussing it in terms of transfer things or what they could do with contracts and, Carranza. So I want everybody to realize, it's, with the salary cap and everything going on, and we're not, we don't know every single roster rule. You know how complex MLS is with the contracts. They're trying to figure out and help the team. And I just want to get that out over the air. And I think Carranza, to your point, will go down. Well, number 1, factually, is one of the all-time leading scorers. In Union will be top 5 in that. And I think, like, for me, just how clinical he was in front of goal. With the likes of, our beloved friend Sebastian Latu, who had on the air a couple weeks ago, and others. And, he's sorely going to be missed selfishly for the club. I wish he was still in a Union uniform. I understand, you guys know it's a business. But for me, no doubt will be one of the best strikers.
Do you have a favorite goal from him?
None that really a big one that comes to mind,
Okay.
to be honest.
A lot of good ones too.
There's a lot. What comes to mind for you?
The bicycle one in Toronto.
Yeah,
because I've never really
that's a good
seen
one.
that
See,
from the U.
I didn't think about that.
Curler
one at
against
all.
LAFC was also really disgusting. I mean, we've just never seen a striker have that type of skill. We've had like clutch
There were
strikers,
so many,
but just the skill,
Yeah.
Carranza.
Yeah, I think, and you saw that partnership throughout the, you want to call it the glory years of he and Ua and Gazdag as that trio. I mean, don't forget
The Eagle.
Those guys all had their, in the cup run. Didn't they have all their career years where they were all scoring over 20 goals or close to
exactly.
it? So happy for Carranza. I know there was a lot of goals. I'm sorry, I can't remember like one that sticks out for me from Julian, but proud of the player, and if he still Union player right now, looking like that's coming to an end. That's said publicly by our staff, but I wish him and the family all the best, and hopefully also it's a good piece of business for the Union. Whatever money that they can recoup from that imminent transfer can go back into the club.
Very, very important. It is very nice to see the way the Union continues to continue to develop players, and that's something that between making tweaks, developing players, and also just the work effort, the effort that we're seeing from guys, the way that we're seeing them, Tai and Nate and Jack, and we are seeing, especially offensively, this group does still have the talent. They still have the pieces, and it is still early. We're still talking about the first half of the season. A lot of soccer left to play. Leagues Cup, a lot's going to still happen in the future for the Union. That, as you mentioned, one game at a time. You start with the road trip coming up, maybe be able to get a result out of it, start feeling good, get the confidence back up, and things can definitely turn around because it's very fixable. Absolutely.
So they're playing a Montreal team that, remember, Sunusi Ibrahim scored in the first minute on, again, you mentioned some of the defensive lapses. There was a big one on that first goal. I don't see that happening on Saturday. I know, people are saying, well, it's occurred so many times this year, early goals this year, not just him, but Martinez of New York City in the second minute, Rui Diaz with the kick in from about 50 yards away. I think, now you're starting to just keep in mind, to your point, they're going to play teams now for the second time.
Yeah.
Just like Charlotte. I know it didn't go our way, and we're going to see Charlotte, by the way, in the Leagues Cup. I know everybody's favorite. So I just want to tell people that, okay, things didn't go right round one. Now it's round two.
Exactly.
Okay. So now we're getting towards like thinking of a boxing match, like the 8th, 9th, and 10 rounds. Still some time with 15 games left in the regular season to turn things around. And I know we're wrapping up soon, but like one comment I saw on the board was, and I think very accurate, I don't think any of the teams above us would want to play us in the playoffs. I think with the history, what we've done.
Shout out to Dan Herman. Yep.
Yeah. I think Dan's spot on with the complement of players that we discussed from top to bottom. I would, even if we weren't for the Union, like I wouldn't want to play the Union with everything they have. And those players have been there before.
Exactly.
And the fight that this team has when their backs are against the wall. It's happened so many times before. Remember, they had trouble winning on the road. Now they're winning on the road, and it's flipped where we're struggling to get points at home.
Sport.
You got to think that home form is going to turn around, and I think it's just going to take that one game, and maybe in a couple games against Red Bull in a rivalry type of game, maybe that will be the harbinger for some success at home.
Anything can happen in Derby, Dave.
I'm ready for some. Listen, I remember when Jesse Marsh, was it an Open Cup game or a league game where he threw the ball at Curtin?
Yeah.
No, I think the two are buddies, obviously. He got thrown out. I've called the U.S. Open Cups with Red Bulls, the Marco Fabian.
You might need
right?
an ugly fight type of a game that helps you kind of get going and can allow you to just play.
You said you called for it. You want a little more grit, toughness.
Yeah,
what you've
that
seen,
pulls that out of you.
Like epitomized by El Brujo, Jose Martinez, like in others. If there's ever a game for that to come out, and just you hope that it happens for a full 90 minutes. And I would think look, every game that's the goal, especially against Red Bull at home. But again, games against Montreal, lower in the table, Chicago, Frank Klopas, who formerly a coach with them, a great broadcaster as well with former Chicago voice Dan Kelly, now back as a coach. Frank's doing a great job with Chicago. Not going to be an easy game at Soldier Field. Nope. And then you got Red Bull, like I mentioned, doing very well. And then, trips to Toronto. And you can go down the games upcoming. There is still time. They're not in 11th, 12th out of the playoff picture with 5 games to go. There's 15 left.
Right.
Still time. It hasn't gone the way we all want it. Everybody understands that. Stick behind these guys, I'd say. It's better to be behind them than to just say, whatever you want to, messaging you want to put out there. I would still try to encourage the group to galvanize them because I see it behind the scenes. They're still giving everything they have for you.
Renee, we brought Dave at the right time because now I feel optimistic about this. Let's go.
I'm not gonna lie.
Let's do it.
Yes.
Let's go. Ready to go.
I love it.
I'll run a couple laps around the building for you guys.
Let's go.
Ready to go.
Dave's coming in to remind everybody to not hit the panic button. There is definitely a lot of soccer left to play. And as we're talking about that first time through the schedule for the Union with the youth, with all the changes, especially with having so many different looks defensively, it does take time to figure things out. It does take time to really get your feet under you. And hopefully the second half of the season will be that. Internationally, we are seeing a lot of great soccer going on as well. As we saw in the Euro matches, Daniel Gazdag in Hungary won 1-0 over Scotland yesterday. We saw USA get a nice win over Bolivia 2-0. Also, we saw Venezuela with a 2-1 game, and that was
nice.
Quite a wild
Everybody was reminding me, Jose Martinez got a foul, in the first minute of the game? I was like, come on.
Jose doing some great things.
Love Jose when I say that.
Big win for Venezuela.
And then, of course, today there's a lot of great matches to look forward to. As of right now, we've got Croatia and Italy should have already kicked off by now, and Albania and Spain. And then I had to put in the plug, Brazil and Costa Rica. But before that, of course, at 6 p.m., Colombia and Paraguay. I love it. So this is the great overlapping part of the summer where we just get soccer all the time. Great matchups, lots to look forward to. And Dave, it's been a pleasure having you on to reset the optimism here. Bring a little life into all. I hope for everybody tuned in. Todd, Jose, Jillian, Dan, George, everybody that's tuned in, and anybody that watches later on YouTube or Twitter, to remind us all, there's such a long season left, and there's a lot of soccer left to play. It's a marathon, guys. It's not a sprint. But Dave, thank you for coming on to remind us that and help us move along in this marathon a little bit more.
Well, I want to thank you both and your staff for your kindness and your candor, and everybody following throughout the entire show. Congratulations on this adventure.
Thank you so much
to you guys as well. Keep doing your thing, and the Union are gonna keep putting out maximum effort to turn the season around. Hopefully, I gave you a little bit of insight that there still is time to do that, and I appreciate everybody following, not just here our radio calls this year, because myself, Sebastian, Latu, Shane, and Williams, our entire crew, we're having a blast traveling with the team, getting to see all these great stadiums and trying to put out the best product for the local fan base as well. So
you guys are doing a great job, by the way, Dave.
Absolutely.
I really appreciate you both having me here.
Yeah, it's fantastic work. And as always, make sure you're checking out Dave's work, Dave Leno at Dave Leno TV on social media. And as you mentioned, with all the work you're doing with the radio broadcast, with the Fanatic, with the team, you're there. You're the sight and sounds behind the scene that you're catching, them keep everybody in the loop and up to date on what's going on with the team. So fantastic work by you as always. And for everybody tuned in, we will have some previews coming for you as we do every week. So stay tuned for that. Some more content coming your way this week as the week rolls on. We'll continue following the team and keep this optimistic train rolling because there's plenty of soccer to play and the Union still have time. So for Tyler, JP, myself, Renee, and our tremendous guest, Dave Leno, who came in and just reset the tides for us. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. We will see you guys next time here on PHOI Union Podcast.
Dude.
We all silly like the mayor.